Okay, welcome everybody to our Tuesday night shiur. This week's Parashat Shlach, Shlach Lecha Melachim. It's a very famous parasha. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu sent messengers to Eretz Yisrael, but I want to share with you something that maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't know, that really this parasha from beginning to end doesn't make any sense, because from the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, we all know the end result of the Meraglim, of the spies, that there were 12 of them, one for each tribe, that they went to Eretz Yisrael, and it was a 40-day journey. And because they were 40 days in Eretz Yisrael, they ended up having to stay in the desert for 40 years because they spoke badly about Eretz Yisrael. And really the whole parasha starts, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe le'emor, Shlach lecha anashim ve'tiru et Eretz Canaan. So Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he told him, you have to send messengers and let them seek out the land. So right away, the Mefarshim ask, the commentators ask, that really there was a back and forth dialogue, because the Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, Shlach lecha anashim, send them for your sake. Why should you be sending messengers to Eretz Yisrael? It's, for example, the Midrash brings a parable that there was once a king, and the king told his son, I've chosen for you a bride, and she's beautiful, and you should know at the time that you're ready, you'll be able to marry this bride. So the prince asked the king, you know what, I want to go and see the bride. So the king said, really, you want to go and see the bride? Because you didn't trust me in the fact that I told you that she was beautiful and she had all the categories that are needed to be a perfect bride for you, then I'm gonna make sure that you never have her. And really, that was the outcome of the spies, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told the Meraglim, the fact that you wanted to go and see Eretz Yisrael when I promised you that it's an Eretz Zavat Chalab Udvash, it's a land flowing of milk and honey, and all the beautiful things that Eretz Yisrael has to offer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, Shlach lecha. But yet, on the other hand, we know that all these people were the heads of the tribes. They were all people that were considered to be righteous, because the Torah doesn't say anashim. When the Torah calls somebody an ish, like va'ish Moshe anav mikol adam, and the man Moshe was modest of all men. So if somebody is called an ish in the Torah, it must mean that he has a level. And these were the people, they were heads of tribes. And you see right away, Rabbeinu Bechai, when he starts his opening to this parasha, he says, Sus muchan leyom milchama. A horse is ready for the day of war, and the victories for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the victories for Hashem, the victories for God, meaning that that a person has to do whatever ishtadlut, whatever necessary means he has to do. When you go out to the world, what do? A person wakes up in the morning and he goes to work. He does whatever necessity that he needs to do. Like Shlomo Melech commented and told us that a person has to do whatever he needs al pi teva, within nature, in order to do this, whatever the situation requires. And then whatever his abilities are lacking in the form of nature, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will get the rectification that it was lacking from before. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu want to do? Moshe Rabbeinu knew that the brothers who were the spies in the beginning that went down to Mitzrayim, he knew that they needed a correction. So says Moshe Rabbeinu, I know that I'm only going to send two. I know that I want to send Yoshua and Caleb because they're the two tzaddikim and they're not going to be affected. They're going to tell me exactly what they see. But now we have an opportunity to bring everything back to Adam Rishon Kodem Achet. And you'll see how all this unfolds. It's very exciting how everything through their journey really unfolds and hints to us to this. So says Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm gonna take out a head from each tribe. And ahead of each tribe, I'm going to give him an neshama of one of the 12 brothers of Yosef, the Shifteka. And each one of these tribes, now they're going to get their correction. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, that's what he was trying to do. And you see, why did Moshe Rabbeinu only pray for Yoshua and he didn't pray for any one of the other brothers? Because when Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for Yoshua, Yoshua was the part of Shevet Levi, the part of the tribe of Levi. And the part of the tribe of Levi, they don't have a portion in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, he prayed only for Yoshua. And even more interesting, and I'm very excited about this because I had this question for many, many, many years, and nobody was able to answer it to me until I found it today. Baruch Hashem that I found it today. I always wondered, out of all the 12 people that went to Eretz Yisrael, the 12 spies, why was it that only Caleb woke up to this idea to go and to pray by the Kivrot Tzadikim, because it says by Kalev when they reach Hebron, Kalev all of a sudden ruach acheret hayta imo. There was something that took him over, and he says, "You know what? I don't want to be caught. I know what the spies are about to do. I know what these Meraglim are going to do. They want to speak badly about Eretz Yisrael because they want to keep their position. They don't want to lose their status. And therefore, when they're going to come back and tell the Jewish people what they saw in Eretz Yisrael, it's going to be bad. I don't want to be caught in it, even though their calculations are heavenly calculations." So what does he do? He goes to pray by the kivrot, by the graves of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He goes to Marat HaMachpelah. And he starts to pray that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should save him from the Atzat HaMeraglim, from the advice of the Meraglim, that he shouldn't be lured into it. So why is Kalev the only person that all of a sudden gets this? Why is he the only one that feels this pull, this magnet into going to the Kivrot of Tzakim? I had this question for years. It's so exciting. Now, you know what the Arizal says? Unbelievable. You know why? Because who was the Gilgul in Kalev? Who was the reincarnation of Kalev? It's a bomb. Eliezer Eved Avraham. Remember Eliezer Eved Avraham? So Eliezer Eved Avraham came in a reincarnation in Kalev ben Yefuneh. Therefore, out of all the other 12 tribes, who felt the most connection to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? It was Eliezer Eved Avraham. The servant that served Avraham his whole life, he felt that connection. He was the reincarnation into Kalev. He felt that connection. He wanted to go to Kivrot Tzadikim. He wanted to go to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov to pray in order not to be caught in the advice of the Meraglim. Comes the Arizal and opens up a question that we had for years. Why is Kalev the only one that went to pray by Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? Oh, you know who Kalev was? He was Eliezer Eved Avraham. He was the servant of Avraham. Therefore, he felt the most connection. He didn't want to be lured into this idea. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu, that was the promise. Bameh Daki Yereshana. How do I know that I'm going to inherit the land? So right away, we see that that's why Moshe Rabbeinu sent the 12 tribes. He wanted to enclose into them the brothers of Yosef, because they should get the rectification of what they tried to do in the beginning. And really, what's the lesson here? What happened? When the Meraglim come back, it says that they start telling the Jewish people everything that happened in Eretz Yisrael. And they say, the Midrash tells us like this, we were like grasshoppers in their eyes. So the commentators ask, what do you mean you were grasshoppers in their eyes? How do you know what you were in their eyes? Furthermore, it even says that Moshe tells them, Vayalu b'negev. He gives them strict instructions on how to go up to Eretz Yisrael. Because the commentator says that Moshe Rabbeinu told them a name, a godly name. He told them a name. And with that name, they were able, when they used this name of Hashem, wherever they went, they were able to give Kedusha to the land. That was their role. Their role was not to do anything but to go and to sanctify Eretz Yisrael, to make Eretz Yisrael prepared for the Jewish people. So he gave them the Shem of Hashem, and the same name that Moshe Rabbeinu used to kill the Egyptian in Mitzrayim. He taught this to the spies, and he told them, listen, you're going to start from this portion of the land, and then you're going to move up and use this name. So the Meraglim had this name. So everywhere they went, what happened? People died. Why were people dying wherever the Meraglim went? Because they were using that godly name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu protected them. So they thought that, Vayinu kechagavim beneim, we were like grasshoppers in your eyes. So the Midrash says, how do you know what you looked in their eyes? And even they come back and they say this land is filled of giants. How do they know that this land was filled of giants? It says that there was one of the daughters of the giants that she did what? She ate a fruit. And when she finished, she went into her father's orchard, and she started to eat the fruit. It says the Midrash like this, Maaseh aya bebito shel anak, a daughter of a giant, shenichnesa lepardes, she went to the orchard of her father, v'achla rimon, and she ate a pomegranate. And after she ate the pomegranate, v'ishlicha klipato, she took the peel, and she threw it. Vayu meraglim mitchabim sham, and the spy thought that this peel, they thought it was a cave. That's how big the people were there. Imagine the fruits of Eretz Yisrael. They thought that the peel of the pomegranate was a cave. So when they saw her throw the peel, they thought it was a cave. So they went inside. They thought it was a cave. The 12 spies all went inside this peel from this girl that was the daughter of the giant that ate the pomegranate. והיא שאכלה רימון ואמרה, אלך ואשליך את הקליפה שלא יראה אבי. Oh, so what did she say? She goes, oh, if my father saw that I went inside his orchard and I ate this, he's going to get upset at me. So what does she do now? She goes and she takes this peel, נכנסה והשליחה אותו חוץ לפרדס. She picked up the peel with all the 12 tribes and she threw them. ראה גבורתה, מה שהייתה סבורה שאנו חגבים. Therefore they thought, oh look, we're like grasshoppers in their eyes. They're throwing us out. They're throwing us like we're nothing. But really, what did the Kadosh Baruch Hu do? He made it that when the 12 tribes were coming, all the people in the land were starting to die. Why? Because he didn't want them to be involved with the spies. He wanted them to be involved with the burial of the people there. So then when the spies came back, how did they start? It says that night, they started to make everybody cry. How did they do that? And we all know what happened because of that. It says, right? So when they come back and they say, Eretz ochelet yoshvea, it's a land that eats its inhabitants, because all they saw when they were there were funerals. People kept dying when they were there. And why were they dying? Because Moshe Rabbeinu taught them the holy name. So as they were walking around in Eretz Yisrael with the holy name, people started to fall down. V'sham ra'inu ta nefilim bnei anak. We saw giants and they were dying, and they came back and they started to make Am Yisrael cry. So the Midrash says like this, it's called the Midrash Shilamdenu. It's a different Midrash from what most people know. There's Midrash Rabbah, there's Midrash Tanchuma. This is a bit of a different Midrash. And he says Rabbi Eliezer b'no shel Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, how did they make all the Jewish people cry? They showed them mercy. What does that mean? They showed, the spies came and they started to show the Jewish people, oh, you know, כאדם שיש לו מת מצווה והוא צווח ובוכה, כך הם כיוונו שבאו מטור הארץ. When they came and saw the land, they went, each one of the spies, they went to a different portion of Am Yisrael in the desert. Kol echad ve'echad betoch shifto. Each one went to his shevet, they went to his tribe, and they started to go into their house, and they started to cry. Ubanav ubnotav ba'im elav, and his daughters, and his wife, and his children, his son-in-laws, they come and they tell him, why are you crying, father? What happened? Ube'ot shu omed, oseh atzmo nofel lifnehem. So what did they do? They started to play this act. And they started following, oy le'alechem, woe to you, my children. Woe to you, my nieces. Woe to you, my brides. You know, we're going to go into Eretz Yisrael, and these Amorites that are in Eretz Yisrael, they're going to control you. They're going to destroy you. They're going to do things with you that are not proper. Who could stand with this? So what did they do? They imposed panic in Am Yisrael. They caused the Jewish people to fall from their state of emunah, from their state of belief. So what happened? This thing spread like wildfire throughout all of the tribe of Am Yisrael, throughout all the 12 tribes. These 12 people came and they intoxicated Am Yisrael. They intoxicated them to tell them what's going to happen. They started to cry, and they made them fall from their level of emunah. And Am Yisrael started to cry. And we know that because of this cry, bechiyah shel chinam, what happened? Therefore, what the act of the spies did wasn't an act of one time. It was an act that ruined generations. And this is where the punchline comes in. We see that why did Moshe Rabbeinu want that these spies, which were the brothers of Yosef initially, why should they get their rectification here? And this is really the message that the Torah is coming to tell us. You know what the message that the Torah is trying to come and tell us is? Play your role. Hashem gave you a role in this world. You have to play that role. Whether you like the role or not, you're a part of the play. And when you don't play your role, not only are you destroying that scene, your actions have a ramification not only for this scene. It has a ramification because this is a eulogy. This is a trilogy. I'm sorry, it's a trilogy, which means there's part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until Mashiach comes. When you're not playing your role, you're destroying the whole trilogy. You're destroying not only this certain part, you're destroying everything. And look what the Baal HaTurim says. The nezik, the damage that the Meraglim caused wasn't only for their generation. It says, they cried. What happened? Chazal tell us that was the night of Tisha B'Av. And because they cried for no reason, because the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give them the land of Eretz Yisrael, you should know an interesting fact that the Satmar Rebbe says. The generation of the people of the desert, the Dora Midbar, were never supposed to go into Eretz Yisrael. Their neshamot, their souls, were souls that could never enter Eretz Yisrael. So no matter what they did, they would have never gone into Eretz Yisrael anyways. And the spies knew that. And it says that if the Dora Midbar wouldn't pass away in the desert, they wouldn't fall asleep. Then therefore anybody for generations that was ever buried in Chutz La'aretz, that was ever buried in outside of Eretz Yisrael, in the times of Mashiach, when Mashiach comes and there's what we call Tchiyat HaMetim, the revival of the dead, that all the Metim come and everybody wakes up, anybody who's been buried outside of Eretz Yisrael would never get up. So therefore the Meraglim, the spies, never had a chance into going into Eretz Yisrael. So that they knew that. And because they knew that, they thought that we have to come up with this whole strategy on how not to get into Eretz Yisrael, because if we go into Eretz Yisrael, what's going to happen to every Jew that dies outside of Eretz Yisrael? He's never going to wake up. There's never going to be Tchiyat HaMetim. So now the Baal Turim says something unbelievable. He says, look, how do we say this parsha? It's called Parashat Shlach, right? Shlach Lecha Melachim. So he says, when was the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash? He says the first Beit HaMikdash in Megillat Eicha, it tells us that the first Beit HaMikdash, you know when it happened? It was in the 4,000 year, Bishnat Shlach, in the year Shlach, in the year 338, Shlach. What's this parasha called? Shlach Lecha. When was the first Beit HaMikdash destroyed? 4,338. In the Elef Haravi, in the 4,338, Keminyan, in the same gematria and the same numerical value as Shlach. This parasha, so what the Meraglim did, Kishma shel Parashatenu, in the same name that our parsha, V'kam divrei HaKadosh Baruch Hu leYirmiyahu. And when Hashem speaks to Yirmiyahu, what did he say to him in the time of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash? He said, Shlach. Shlach me'alai penai v'yitzu. Send them away. It's not a coincidence that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is using these same words of Shlach, because in this gematria of Shlach 338, every time you look, says the Baal Turim, the destructions of both Beit HaMikdash happened in this name of the parsha, in the same gematria, in the same numerical value, because of what the Meraglim did. Comes the other commentators and says that in the same way that this parasha Shlach has, what did they cause? So when the Meraglim came and they started taking Am Yisrael down from their emunah, and they took them down from their belief, and they told them that Efes ki, the Ramban said, you know what they said? We lost hope. Ki chazaku mimenu. They're greater than us. So the Mefarshim says, what does it mean chazaku mimenu? They meant they're greater than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like the Gemara says that once you let in the Yetzer Hara, today he tells you to do this sin. And tomorrow he tells you to worship what? Avodah Zarah. He tells you to worship idolatry. How does a person come from doing one little thing to worship idolatry? Because he says this is what happens. When Am Yisrael fell into a state of Yeush, they fell into a state of denial. That's what it says. Vayomru ish el achiv nitna rosh v'nashuva mitzrayim. The Meraglim, they took the air from the Jewish people. They took all that emunah. They were ready to go into Eretz Yisrael. They were ready to fix Chet Adam Rishon. They were ready to build the Beit HaMikdash. They were ready to bring about Mashiach. Says the pasuk, Vayomru ish el achiv. They said one to the other. What did they say to them? Nitna rosh v'nashuva mitzrayim. Says the Baal Turim. You know what the gematria of this is? 299. 299 in the numerical gematria is the same numerical value of Avodah Zarah. The same numerical. Why? Because when a person loses hope in a Kadosh Baruch Hu, when a person thinks that Hashem is not going to fulfill, God is the director of the play. And when you think that the director is telling you the role that you have to play, when you start changing the role, that's Avodah Zarah. He's the director. He knows how the trilogy is supposed to end. He's telling you to go and seek out the land. There's a reason for it. By the way, who were those people that says, Vayomu ish el achiv, says the Midrash, Mi ayu Datan ve'Aviram. These were the Tan V'Aviram, the same people that came to Moshe Rabbeinu and they snitched on Moshe Rabbeinu and they told Paro, you know who killed that Egyptian? That was Moshe Rabbeinu. That was the Tan V'Aviram. Says the Orach Chaim, any time that we have Am Yisrael in a state of trouble, it's always the Tan V'Aviram. You know who the Tan V'Aviram are? They're the people that are trying to tell you not to listen to the director of the play. Those are the Tan V'Aviram. It's that voice in your side of your head that's telling you, oh, I'm not happy with my role. I want a different role. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts you with your abilities. He made you play a certain role. And that's the role that you have to play. Says the Chida in Pnei David, he says something unbelievable. How do we know that all this thing was connected to Adam Rishon? And if the Meraglim went to Eretz Yisrael and all they had to do was just go to Eretz Yisrael, they had to do nothing but come back and say, oh, we saw this and we saw that. That's all they had to do. Nobody asked them for their opinion. Nobody asked them to tell us whether we'll win or we'll not win, whether we'll be able to conquer the land or how you looked in their eyes. Was it like grasshoppers? No, you had a role. Your role was to go as spies and to come back and tell Moshe Rabbeinu, you know what we saw? We saw that in the East End, this is what they have. In the West End, this is what they have. Here's a sample of their fruits. So when the Torah tells us that the Meraglim, they went into Eretz Yisrael, it puts a detail on a few words. And it says the fruit that the Jewish people brought from Eretz Yisrael that the spies was an Eshkol Anavim, a cluster of grape. And it says, by the way, an interesting fact. Look at the beauty. The Meraglim, they had to carry this cluster of grapes. It was so big back then, the grapes, that it didn't take one person to carry it. It took a few of them. And it says that throughout the 40 years of the desert, this one cluster of grapes was able to make for them wine for all the wine libations that they brought, for all the yain, nisuach hayain, because when you bring a sacrifice, you have to do something that's called nisuach hayain. You bring wine libations with it. Therefore, throughout the 40 years, this cluster of grape was able to give them enough wine to do all the wine libations, all the nisuach hayain for all the sacrifices that they brought in the Mishkan. But says the Chida, how do we know that this is a repetition of the Chet Adam Rishon that everybody keeps getting caught in, that everybody wants to play a role that's not their role? HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Adam Rishon, don't eat from the tree. That's all I'm asking. It's Erev Shabbat. Do me a favor, don't eat from this tree. Do whatever you want. Wait a few hours. When Shabbat comes, you'll eat from the tree and everything will be great. But Adam Rishon didn't play that role. He changed his role. And because he changed its role, we're in this mess still today. Because he changed his role, the narrative of the trilogy changes. So every time there's an opportunity for somebody to fix the Chet Adam Rishon, when that person doesn't want to play his role because he finds the reason why the role is not right and why the director doesn't know the script that he gave him, all of a sudden he changes the whole trilogy and everything becomes longer. So says the Chida, how do we know that this is connected to Chet Adam Rishon? Because it says by Etz Hadat that Adam Rishon ate from the tree. What was it? It was a grape. Therefore, you see that the Meraglim, when they brought this Eshkol, it was also a grape. Vayavo ad nachal Eshkol, vaychetu misham zmora, ve'eshkol anavim echad. Why did they go to Nachal Eshkol? Because they were supposed to fix the Eshkol. They were supposed to fix what Adam Rishon did from eating the Etz Hadat, from eating from the grapevine. And therefore it says, Maaseh Meraglim haya nachal novea me'eshkol Adam Rishon ku garam et hakol, because Chetz et Hadat, the sin of Adam Rishon, caused all this exile. And the Meraglim, the spies, had the opportunity, if they played their role, to fix this. Since he brought this evil. And look what he says. The Nachash, at the time when he was in Gan Eden, and he enticed Chava to eat from Etz Hadat. And if you look, V'achen eshkol, the word eshkol, which means a cluster of grapes, is the same numerical value of Nachash. -1, which in Gematria we make it that it one this way or one that way doesn't make, but it's eshkol begematria Nachash. Therefore, you see that what got into the Meraglim is that Nachash. What's the role of the snake? What's the role of the Yetzer Hara? And what's the role that he keeps getting us? And by the way, we saw this also by Shaul HaMelech. When Shaul HaMelech, Shmuel tells him, your role is to go and kill Amalek and make sure you leave no remnants of Amalek. You have to kill Hagag. You have to kill all their livestock, their women, their children. And Shaul HaMelech, we know that Mishichmo V'mala, from his, he was a person that ketinok, he was a ketinok shenolad, he had not one sin. And when Shmuel comes, he comes to him and he says to him, Akiyamta et dvar Hashem? Did you uphold the word of Hashem? What's Shmuel telling him in our language? What does that mean, Akiyamta et dvar Hashem? You know what Shmuel was telling Shaul in other words? Did you stick to the script? Did you stick to the script that I told you? Did you play your role? What does Shaul say? Shaul didn't kill Hagag. And because Shaul didn't kill Hagag, therefore the trilogy continued. Therefore there has to be the narrative changed. And now we're waiting again for the opportunity to come up. It's like a window that opens up every once in a while, and there's a person that's supposed to play the role. And if that individual plays his role, the narrative stays the way the director wanted it, and it's a blockbuster movie. But once the characters don't play their role, they ruin the trilogy. This is exactly what was the Chet HaMeraglim. The Chet HaMeraglim was that they were supposed to play a certain role. Nobody asked them for their opinion. And in that role, they were supposed to come back and tell us what they saw in the land. And you see that the only people that merited to go into Eretz Yisrael and merited to live the real narrative was Kalev and Yoshua. Why? Because Kalev and Yoshua were the only people that played their role. They stuck to the script. And this is the lesson of Parshat Shlach. Like you see, the Baal HaTurim tells us, every time Tisha B'Av, it happened, the first destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash, the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash happened in different thousands of years, but it happened in the year Shlach. That's not a coincidence. We destroyed the script. And this is the lesson of Parashat Shlach. Shlach Lecha, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to give a rectification. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Shlach Lecha. And he says for you, because it's for your sake. Because if they go into Eretz Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu was willing to nullify himself because he knew his role. His role, Moshe Rabbeinu, was, doesn't matter to me. I know I'm never going to make it into Eretz Yisrael. But if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants this generation to go into Eretz Yisrael, my job is done. I'm not going to ruin the script. I'm not going to ruin the narrative. If Am Yisrael is supposed to go, not only am I not going to ruin the narrative, says Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm going to make sure I'm only supposed to send 2 spies. I'm going to send 12 spies. Why? Because I'm going to help the narrative. Because I see the opportunity. I see the window that is opened up to fix everything. And if we fix everything, Mashiach will come. So I'm not worried what my portion is. There's a director. There's a script. I was given a role. All I have to do is play that role. Shaul had to play that role. The Meraglim had to play that role. And the brothers of Yosef, when they were supposed to, therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, in the power of Ibur means that he was going to bring down the Shiftei Kai, he was going to bring down the brothers of Yosef to get that rectification. But when the brothers of Yosef saw that the spies had something else in mind, they left them. And once the brothers of Yosef left the spies, it was all downhill from them. Therefore, they lost the opportunity. They lost that window to fix because they didn't play their role. And really, you know, that this is the biggest message for us. Many times in our lives, and this is where the biggest trick is, because even when it comes to spirituality, because the Meraglim, they had all the kavanot, they had all good intentions. They said, if we go into Eretz Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu will die, and what kind of world will it be without a world of Moshe Rabbeinu? They had intentions that we know that if Am Yisrael comes into Israel, there's not going to be a man, and we're living in a state of where we have the man, and we're able to serve Hashem. But if we come into Eretz Yisrael, there's going to be all kinds of distractions. They had all the intentions, L'Shem Shamayim, like the Torah says, Anashim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu called them tzaddikim. These were people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu called righteous. They had all the good intentions. But when they deviated from their role, that's when all hell broke loose. When a Jew deviates from his role, that's when he ruins the narrative. This is the biggest lesson for us. We might not like, this is a tough thing I'm about to tell you. You might not like your role. You know, if you ever watch a movie, you see the bad guy in the movie. You know, bad guys in a movie that act like a bad guy, they also get rewarded. They also get Oscars because they play the role very well. Sometimes a person has to play a role where in his mind, the role that he's playing is insignificant. Why? Because he doesn't know the whole narrative. The Meraglim, they made calculations. If they were just to play their role, they would have gotten rewarded. They would have stayed in their status. They would have gotten even higher status. They would have gone into Eretz Yisrael. And even though they knew that their neshamot were not neshamot of Eretz Yisrael, you know that the commentators say that Dora Midbar en laim chelek le'olam haba. They have no portion to the world to come. What do you mean they have no portion to the world to come? We know that the Gemara relates a story where one of the Tanaim went out to the desert and he saw where the generation of the Midbar were buried, and he saw their bodies intact. They were intact, and we know that a person's body, then when he's buried, is intact. That's considered to be a tzaddik. Their bodies, lo ra'u rima, nothing left. They're in perfect shape. So how can such a generation? The Torah says they have no portion to olam haba. They're not going to get the world to come. Says the Satmar Rav. You know why they don't have a portion to olam haba? You know why they don't have a portion to the world to come? Because they live the world to come in this world. The Dora Midbar, the Dora Daha, the highest generation, they lived the world to come. They lived Olam Haba Olam Hazeh. There are certain tzaddikim that get to live Olam Haba in this world, which means they've reached all their levels of rectification. They've done everything that the Dora Midbar, they had the man. They saw godliness every single day with miracles. They had the clouds of glory. They lived Olam Haba in this world. They didn't want to leave that, but they didn't play their role. They deviated. Therefore, the most important lesson of Parashat Shlach Lecha, the most important lesson that we have to take from us, because this was an opportunity to end it all. And if we at this time were the Ikvita de Mashiach, if we want to bring Mashiach, you know, the Baal Tanya says something unbelievable. He says, you know, sometimes a person has to go out to work and a person has to do certain things. In the back of his mind, he's like, oh, you know, I should be learning, or I should be doing this mitzvah. And he has yearnings to get closer to Hashem. He has yearnings to get closer to his Creator. And he says, I wish I was sitting and learning, or I wish I was able to say, he says, when we say, Ezu Ashira Sameach B'Chalko, who is the one that is happy with his lot, that's not only in material, that's sometimes also in spiritual. Because the Nechash, he comes and tells you, eat from that Etzadat. Eat from that tree. You know what it means to eat from that tree? I'm not happy with the role that I've been given. I want a different role. When Adam Rishon ate from the tree, he was asking for a different role that he was given. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him a role. He gave him an act. You were supposed to act. You were supposed to play the part. Why didn't you play the part? That's why when Hashem comes to Adam Rishon, he says to him, Ayeka, Adam, I gave you a part. Why are you playing somebody else's part? And that's exactly the source of Lashon Hara. That's exactly the source of evil tongue. Why do you speak Lashon Hara about somebody else? Because you want to play a part that's not yours. Why are you jealous of him? He's just playing a part. This is the narrative that he was given. If you're part of a series, if you're part of a movie, what you want for that movie to succeed is that for every single person to play his part and to play it perfectly. And the better way that he plays his part, the happier you are, because that's the more success that's going to bring to your movie. Therefore, Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Adam Rishon, Ayeka, you were supposed to play a part. Why didn't you play it? If you played the part, you would have gotten the Oscar. The Oscar for us is Mashiach. Unfortunately, we keep changing the role. We keep changing the role in the narrative, and therefore, when we change our role, the narrative changes. That's the biggest lesson to us. When Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Shlach Lecha, he's saying, this is the lesson. Tell every single Jew, I want you to understand that your role is the greatest role. And you have to play that role. And once you play that role, that's what's going to bring about Mashiach, because I'm the director and I have a narrative. And when each and every single one of us follows that narrative, that's when Mashiach can come. So that's the message of Shlach Lecha. That's the message. The message is play your role. Don't want anybody else's role. All you're asked to do is follow the script. I wish everybody a good evening, and Be'ezrat Hashem, Hashem should give us the strength that we should all realize how important we are, and that we should all realize that in order to make this the most successful movie, in order to make this the most successful journey, in order to bring about Mashiach, all each and every one of us has to do is just play their role.